Whoa! Oh, I'm making another tutorial! Wow, that's so crazy! Oh, let's just get onto it. Firstly, we're just gonna make the groundwork, or the framework it's called, for the AI. So, in the SOSed folder, in the new version of the template, you'll find this blueprints folder, with just the blend space and the animation blueprint for the neighbor. We're gonna right-click here, click Blueprint Class, and click Character. We'll call this BP Neighbor. And we'll open this, and we'll set the mesh to the neighbor low poly mesh. We'll set it to use the ABP neighbor animation blueprint. We'll move this down so it's there, then rotate it so that he's facing the correct direction. There we go. Now we have the basic, the very bare bones basic framework and stuff for... Now we have the basic animations for the AI. Now we're going to go back. Now we're going to go back into the blueprints folder. Right click, go to blueprints, and click enumeration. We'll call this neighbor state. And of course, as you can guess, we'll have 4 states here. One called idle, one called hunt, one called offline, and one called attack. Idle, hunt, offline, attack. These are the 4 states that we'll be working with in the entirety of these updated AI tutorials. And back in the blueprint for the neighbor, we're going to create a variable called current state. And we'll make this a type neighbor state. There we go. All that. And we're also going to create a boolean called canCPlayer. And that's pretty much all that we have to do in terms of everything like blueprints and nodes and all that for the BP neighbor. Now we're gonna go back into the blueprints folder, make a new folder. We'll call this behavior, and here is where we're gonna keep all of our stuff related to the AI's behavior. And so we're gonna go to artificial intelligence, click behavior tree. We'll call this neighbor idle BT. Or actually, we'll call this BT neighbor idle. Duplicate this. Call this BT neighbor hunt. Call this BT neighbor offline. And finally, BT neighbor attack. And finally, we're gonna make one last thing, a blackboard. We'll call this BB neighbor. Let's save all of this. And now we have the different behavior trees in the blackboard for the AI's states. And basically what we're going to be making the AI do is we're going to make it switch between these 4 behavior trees whenever it wants to switch states. This will basically prevent any behavior from overlapping one another, such as idle tasks overlapping with hunt mode tasks, and he'll try to do idle tasks in the middle of the hunt mode, and it's yeah, this is basically to prevent that. So now that we have this, we're gonna go back into BP neighbor. We're going to create a new function called setState. And firstly, in this function, we're going to go do a branch here. And we're going to check if the current state... oh, actually, I forgot to do one thing. Got to make an input called new state. And make this a type neighbor state. There we go. And before we do anything in this function, we want to check if the new state is not equal to the, you know what, actually, let's just do a regular not equal. No, that actually is easier. So we first want to check if the new state is not equal to the current state. We want it to do everything here, only if it is not currently in the state that it wants to switch to. Because obviously, in attack mode, we don't want it to constantly switch to attack mode behavior tree, because it's basically going to re-trigger out all of it over and over and over and over and over again, and it'll be very buggy and whatever, and not good. So this is basically all we have to do to prevent that. So now we're going to get the AI controller, the controlled actor being self, of course, and we're going to do run behavior tree off of the true. And off of the BT asset, we're going to do a select node and connect the index to here, and it'll do this lovely little thing where it'll automatically have each option for all of these states. So for idle, of course, we're going to use BT neighbor idle. For hunt, we're going to use BT neighbor hunt, and so on. Now, if you want to, you could also do a select node, or no, not select, switch on eneighbor state. There it is. You could also do this, and you could also have different things trigger depending on what state it is being set to. Actually, let's do that. Let's do that now. Let's do that now. Because we do want the max walk speed to be set depending on what state it's in. Actually, let's just use another select node for this, just to make it easier. So let's see, what is the current max walk speed? 600? That's way too fast. For idle, let's do 150. For hunt, let's do 300. Offline, 200, sure. Attack will be 600. So idle, of course, is where we want to just walk. And I believe in the blend space, it is... Okay, the walk is at 100. Okay, so let's actually make this 100 instead of 150. Cool. Now that we have all of that, let's actually get him to chase the player, because currently, if we drop him here, he just doesn't do anything. He literally doesn't do anything. Hello. You look very handsome today, Mr. Peterson. Yeah, he does literally nothing right now. So we gotta fix that. Let's add an AI perception component, and we'll just call this site component. We'll add a new census config, call this AI, not call this, set it to the AI site config, and click the dropdown, click the dropdown again, and then the peripheral vision is basically the angle of the cone, of like the cone of the AI's site. If I actually go into here and press the apostrophe, and then press 4 on the numpad, as you can see, there's this little green, these little green lines here. This is the AI's peripheral vision. So currently it's set to 90, so it's just going to be basically a 180-degree sight lines for him, which obviously we don't want. I usually set it to 85, but we could do 80. Let's see how that looks. Let's see what that is. Okay. 85 is a little... 80 is a little too small. Let's do 85. Cool. However, as you can see, if we go into his line of sight, nothing really happens. And trust me, there is something that's supposed to be like shown, like a little debug visual, such as the little green lines here. To fix that, we have to go into detection by affiliation and just check all of these. That way, anything that has an AI perception stimuli source component registered to it he will be able to see. So now if we go in his line of sight here, as you can see, there's this little sphere that follows us here. That means that he is able to see us. Awesome. So now let's go back into the blueprint and go down to here, on target perception updated. Click that little plus sign there. And for the actor, we're going to do cast to BP human. Do break. This is actually going to be very, very simple. Literally all you need to do, just set can't see player to successfully sensed. That's all this needs to do right now. We just need it to update can't see player so that we can use that for a whole bunch of different purposes. But for right now, we're just going to use it for chasing. Now, for switching the state, there are a couple ways you could do it. And I mean in particularly having it constantly check it. What you can do is you can use event tick. However, depending on how complex your AI is, you would instead want to do a set timer by event thing and set it to 0.1 seconds in looping and make a custom event here. And basically this would be a pseudo event tick, where instead of this working off of the frame rate, this would just work on a completely separate timer rather than completely desynced from the frame rate. I usually do this because I usually like to make more complex AI, so that's just what we're gonna do. Just keep in mind that you can use event tick if you want. Just be mindful of the performance issues that could introduce if you put a lot of stuff on event tick. But anyways, off of neighbor tick, we're going to do a sequence node because we're going to do a couple things at once on the neighbor tick custom event here. And we're going to do a branch here. Can see player. It's going to be very simple. If you can see the player, set the state to attack. Right here. And we're actually going to do one last thing in set state. We're going to do a switch on eneighbor state here. New state, not neighbor state. We're going to double click on the string here for a reroute node to make it a bit more organized. And off of attack, we're going to... Actually, before we do anything, I forgot one thing. Add an audio command. And search for attack. I believe it is attack Q. Yep, it's attack Q. And it's looping. Yep, it's looping. Cool. So this will be the chase music. Let's just call this chase music. And we want to turn off auto-activate because what will happen is if we press play, it'll just play at the very start. And we don't want that. So just turning off auto-activate will prevent that from happening. Cool. So now back in set state, we're going to, off of the attack on the switch here, we're going to add a branch, drag in the chase music. We're going to check is playing. And if it isn't already playing, we're going to press play. And again, the reason why we want to check this instead of just having it go straight to play here is because we are going to be triggering set state on event tick, or our version of event tick. And of course, we don't want it just repeating over and over and over and over and over again. So we're just gonna add a failsafe here and just make it check if it isn't already playing, just to make sure that that it's actually you know, playing at the right time and playing correctly. So now if we press play here, everything is fine, there's no music playing, but as soon as we get into his line of sight... Cool! So, finally, we're going to go into the neighbor attack behavior tree, create a selector, and we're going to create a new task here by clicking New Task. And in here, it's going to create a new BT task, blueprint base new. We're going to call this BT task attack. And let's actually put this in a new folder called tasks folder here, just to make things a little more organized. Move there. In here, we're going to do event receive execute AI. Off of the controlled pawn, we're going to do cast to BP neighbor, and we're going to do a very simple thing here. AI move to pawn being BP neighbor, the target actor being get player character. And sometimes it will fail, and we're gonna want to actually, let's make a new variable, a new boolean called hot player. And we'll set that to true whenever he catches the player, but we haven't actually set that right now, but we will later. Off of the cast, in the task, we're going to do get caught player. And we're going to make a branch. And if he hasn't caught the player, he's going to try to move to them again. Again, double click on the string to make a reroute node. What is going on here? There we go. So once we get into the line of sight here, he actually doesn't move. And there's a reason for that. Press P really quick. What do you see? Oh, I guess I already set that there. So the reason actually isn't what I thought. It's because we're not actually triggering that in the task. So, attack, BT task attack, and now... he's moving towards us. Nice. However, if you notice... his movement is a bit jittery. He like snaps towards his destination, and of course there is a way to make that a bit smoother. However, we have to enable and disable a couple things first. We have to turn off use controller rotation yaw, and then in the character movement. By the way, that was in the default character settings in the pawn here. In the character movement, component settings, we want to scroll all the way down until we see character movement. And then we're going to want to check orient rotation to movement. And this setting right here, the Z rotation setting, this is basically how quickly he's going to move. He's going to orient himself towards the desired path. So currently it's very fast. 360, it literally just means he'll just snap straight to it. So let's set this to 250. And he moves a lot smoother. Nice. So, now that that's done, we gotta make him actually catch the player. Because currently if he moves towards us, he just stares at us. Actually, let's trigger this branch on success as well. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, so now let's actually make him catch the player. So we're gonna make a box collision component. We'll just call this catch box, and then with this over here, let's change the thickness to look like let's see, about that. Actually, it's a little too thin. About that, yeah, that seems fine. Seems fine. All right. This will act as the hitbox for his catching. And so, we also are going to want to do this on event tick, or on neighbor tick, I guess, in my case. We're going to get the catch box. Is overlapping actor. And with the other, we're going to get player. We're going to get player character. And off of the true, if the box is overlapping the character, we're going to check if the AI has caught the player. If it hasn't, we're going to trigger a custom event, because this is a very large bit of functionality. But before we do any of that, let's actually comment stuff out, just so that we are organized. Trigger attack. Oh, whoops. Yeah, there we go. Make a custom event. Call it catch player, and then right at the start, we're gonna set catch player caught player to true, and we'll actually trigger that here. Go. And the reason why we want to do this first is because since this is being triggered every 0.1 seconds, we don't want this to loop. And since this is checking if he hasn't already caught the player, if it's set to true, it's just not going to do anything. Which is what we want. So, we also want to play a sound. And let's see, actually. Let's search for catch. Let's see, which one of these do we want to use? You know what? Let's just make this more like the original Hello Neighbor. We'll just use catch 2. Let's close the BT task attacks because we're not going to do anything in that anymore. But no, we'll just use catch 2. So now if we Look at that. It plays the sound and everything, but nothing else actually happens. However, we at least know it's triggering. Actually, let's add a final... Let's actually add a final state here in the eNeighbor state. We'll call this none. And we'll only set this when when we want him to like do nothing essentially and have zero behavior. So in the event graph here, we're gonna do one last thing here in the attack triggering part. We're gonna check if the player has not been caught. That way, when he does catch the player, attack mode is not going to be triggered, and we can be free to do whatever we want. So now back in set state. Actually, I don't think. Let's just set the max walk speed to 100. Actually, we'll just set it to 0 because that'll work perfectly. So actually we can leave it as is. Cool. So let's set the state to none. We'll play animation. Play an animation. Search for choke. Cool. So now when he catches us, plays the animation, but we also want the chase music to stop playing. So in the set state, let's get the chase music and just do stop. There we go. Let's make the catch box a little bigger. There we go. That's better. Okay. So now he is playing the animation and everything, but we can still move around and everything. Which is not what we want. So, firstly, we're going to get the player character. Disable input. We're going to get the player controller. And what this is going to do is it will disable all kinds of input from the player. I can't do anything. I literally can't do anything. It won't let me do anything. Which is exactly what we want. However, there's the second to last part before the reset. And it's the fact that if I look away from him, it isn't turning towards him. The player camera is not turning to look at him. So, to fix that and to implement that, we're going to do add timeline. We'll call this player rotate player. Oh, whoops. Open this. Call this alpha. Shift click in here to add a keyframe. Set the time to 0 seconds, and let's set it to be 0.5 seconds. Set time 0.5, set it to 1. Compile save, Close that. That's all done. Actually, we can close set state as well. And update. Now, you might want to do something like set actor rotation and use a target for a player character. You might want to do this for it. However, you don't want to do this actually, and I'll show you why. But first, let's do this. Get actor rotation. Set that as the A value. And we wanted to use the shortest path so it doesn't look weird. Trust me, use shortest path. You'll want to turn that on. And for the B, we're going to do get look find lookout rotation. From the start, we're going to do get actor location. And at the target, we're going to copy and paste get actor location, but we'll just leave this blank so that it is using the neighbor's location for the target. Now again, you don't actually want to use set actor rotation, and the reason for that is because it actually doesn't really do anything. And the reason for that is because this little setting right here, use controller rotation yaw. The player is also a character blueprint, and it has this turned on by default. So, and that is actually needed in order to have like player input and everything. So to fix that, and so to make it so that we can actually rotate the player, we're going to not use set actor rotation. Instead, we're going to get the player controller. We're going to do get control rotation. We'll use that as the start instead. And we'll do set control rotation. And we'll connect that to there. Now, when we press play, there we go. Look at that. I can be running away from him. Oh no, he's gonna get me. Oh, he got me. If you want to make it slower, you can. If you want to make the turn slower, you could set the length to 1 or something. Set the time to 1. Oh no, he's gonna get me. I think that looks nicer, actually, so we're gonna keep it that way. We're gonna keep it 1 second long. So now, finally, for the resetting. Let's actually comment this out. We'll call this rotate player. And off of this, we're going to do a sequence node. I'm going to set a delay, make a delay node for 1 second. Now you may be wondering, why would we not just use the finished pin here on the timeline? For whatever reason, I'm sure there's probably some setting I'm missing or something, but for some reason, this pin triggers way late after the timeline is actually finished triggering, when it has actually gone through the entire animation. For whatever reason, it just does not trigger on time at all, so we're just going to use a delay node instead. Now, there are a couple ways you can do the reset. You can just use open level and just do like yeah, you can just do like open level and use the current level name and just reopen the level. However, we don't really want that because that completely resets all of your progress, and of course nobody wants that. So instead, we're just gonna do get all widgets of class. We're gonna get the fade for each loop. Fade anim forward, so that now when we do play, it'll fade. You know what? The camera keeps clipping inside of him for whatever reason. So let's just add one extra node and do set movement mode. And just leave it as none, so that he immediately stops in his tracks. Or we can probably just make it. Or we can probably just make it bigger, probably. Cool. So I don't think that was even needed. I don't think that was even needed. Oh, what the heck? I didn't mean to do that. You know what? Let's make this 0.05, 0.01 seconds. Okay, there we go. Now it's more accurate. Okay, cool. So now it actually like fades into black after he catches you. However, we're gonna have to make him actually reset your locations. So to do that, we're gonna want to create two more variables. We'll call this neighbor reset transform. And let's set this to transform. Make another one, call this player reset transform. And make both of these public so that we can edit these in the level editor, like so. And to add a little bit more customization, or like organization, I should say, let's make the category to gameplay. Add that there. Make an AI category. Change that. Just set both of those there. There we go. Now, what we're gonna do is after a few seconds of being faded to black, let's make it 5 seconds. We're gonna fade back, and the player and the neighbor will be reset to specific locations. Let's just bring in an empty character just to have. Let's have the neighbor reset here. So let's copy the location. The rotations, it's just 180. And we'll go to neighbor reset transform. Paste the location, set to 180. Cool. And let's delete that. And we'll put the player here. Copy location. We don't need to copy the rotation because it's just 0, 0, 0. So now these two are primed and ready to use for the catching sequence. Let's delete that really quick. Now, after 5 seconds, we're going to actually, let's just have it do this again, so we don't have to trigger a for loop again. Do reverse. And then after 5 seconds, Let's do set actor transform. Set actor transform. And in gameplay, neighbor reset transform. And we'll do this again for the player character. Player reset transform. So now it's gonna fade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Oh, right, I forgot. Ha 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 ha, silly me. We have to set the control rotation. See, even I forgot. We're gonna have to only set the player's location. Set actor location. Nope, not local offset, set actor location. There we go. And we're gonna split this. That double click for a reroute node. There we go. Then we're gonna he catches us. 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have both reset to the locations. However, we're gonna want to do a few more things last. Lastly, we're gonna want to re-enable the input for the player. Just player control again. And we're gonna want to set the AI state back to idle. And we're gonna want to reset his animation mode, his mesh's animation mode, to use the animation blueprint. Because when you use a play animation node, it sets the animation mode for the mesh to use animation asset. So it's not going to be using the animation blueprint. We want to reset that here with set animation mode. Cool. So now, actually, we're going to want to do some things last. We're going to set caught player to false. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for that, I think. Let's see. Catches us. Excuse me? Huh. I think... Okay. Let's make a delay node for like seconds. The freak? Oh, I spawned right on top of him, that's what it was. There we go. That's better. So what was happening was basically the AI was like registering the player as seen just for a split second before being reset. So just delaying this and turning off a cop player prevented this from triggering again. Why was he not chasing us? I have no freaking clue, but it works. It works completely fine. He catches us, fades to black, fades back after a few seconds. We can move and everything. He can chase us again, I think. What's going on here? Oh my gosh, this is my second time of re-recording. Okay, so this is my second time of re-recording this, and I made the exact same mistake twice in a row. The reason why it's not working like this is because we're not setting the current state. Watch this. I guarantee you it's gonna work now. I guarantee you it's gonna work now. So now we can go save. Save. Works now. Awesome. So yep. Look at that. He can chase us. Catch. Fade. Fade back. We can move. We can pick up items and everything. He can chase us again. He can chase us again. Fade to back. There we go. So, we gotta do one last thing. And that is allowing the AI to lose the player. But first, let's select all this. Comment it out. Catch it. Comment this out. Fade. Reset player and neighbor. Reset player and neighbor. Let's actually move this. Let's actually move this down a bit. There we go. Cool, 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 cool. So, let's... Okay. So, actually, let's go ahead and split this up. If caught player... If caught player not is true, then it's going to check if... Then it's going to check can't see player. If it's false, we're going to do a branch. We'll actually put this over here. And a reroute node. And then we're going to get the current state. We're going to check if it's equal to attack. If it's true, we're going to do a retriggerable delay, or actually there's a better way for us to do this. We're going to use a gate. And if the AI can't see the player, it's going to open this, and that's going to be the enter. But if you can't see the player, it's going to close this, and we're going to do a retriggerable delay. And we'll set this to 8 seconds. This will basically be however long you want the AI to wait before it can lose the player. You can promote this to a variable and set it to like I don't know, lose player time. And set this to public. Put this in AI. The default is 8 seconds. We're just going to keep this as a public variable just to make this things a little bit easier, or just to add a little bit more customization for each level. And after 8 seconds, we're going to do one last branch. We're gonna check if can see player is still false. If it is still false, and the current state is equal to attack, we'll actually use a not Boolean. If both of those are true, then it's going to set the state to hunt. And we're going to do one last thing. This is in regards to the chase music. In hunt, we're actually going to also stop the chase music. But we're also going to do last thing. We're going to add an audio component. We're going to call this hunt music. And we're going to use the, where is it? Near hunt. We're going to use near hunt Q, but we have to do attenuation distance, volume attenuation. We're going to override the attenuation, and volume attenuation, spatialization. We're going to disable spatialization. That way, we're actually going to near hunt Q. Let's actually make it 2,000 and 400. 2,000 is still really far, or really far. So that way, with spatialization turned off, it'll get quieter and louder depending on how close we are to the AI. Actually set at 600. At 200. So okay, yeah, that seems fine. So now we're just gonna turn off auto activate, and we're gonna do a couple things in the set state function. We're gonna do the same thing. Check if it isn't already playing. If it isn't, play it. And off of attack mode, in attack mode, it's going to not stop delayed. Stop. It's just going to stop. Actually, we're gonna fade. We're actually gonna fade out. Fade out duration. Make it 0.5 seconds. Cool. So, let's see. Is the AI able to move up here? He can't move up here. Fantastic. So, what we're gonna do, test this. Let's go up here. It should be setting to hunt after 8 seconds. Oh. You know what? Let's get rid of the gate. Get rid of all this BS. Get rid of all this BS. Instead of a retriggerable delay, let's just do a regular delay. So now... he starts chasing us. 3, 2, 1. Now he's in hunt mode currently. But when we go back into his line of sight... What the? Where did I just go? What just happened to me? Goodness gracious, this house's model is very buggy. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Now we run back here. He starts chasing us again. Cool! And that is basically it. Really the largest and most complicated part of this entire thing is the catching, but even then, it's not like insanely complex. I would like to think. This is the AI video. Next updated video, next remastered AI tutorial will be the hunt mode, and it's not just gonna be part 1. We're gonna do the entire thing. We're gonna make the entire framework, and it's only going to consist of like 1, maybe 2 tasks. I don't know, I'll have to figure it out later, but yeah, I hope you were able to follow this, and happy programming, I guess.